Good morning. Well, it's morning where I am at my kitchen table on a Saturday morning. It may not be morning where you are, it may be evening, lunchtime, wherever you're viewing this. And wherever you're viewing this, I thank you for taking the time to watch it. I'm going to do something a little different today. The last time we posted this, which was the first time I posted something, we did it on Instagram and Facebook, and it was a more short form video talking to you about what it is we're going to talk about, what we're going to do, what my purpose is of this project, this social media endeavor that I'm doing. I'm going to do this a little differently today. I'm going to do a little bit of a longer form talk, not that long, so don't get too discouraged. It's not going to be that terribly long, but a little bit longer than last time. And what I'm going to do is to post this on my YouTube channel. It is a YouTube channel called East Texas Dirt Law, and I'll try to direct you to that, and I'll blast it out via social media and other methods, so you can get to it and hopefully get people to watch that and get some traffic to it, and hopefully that will help you. But that's going to be a longer form discussion. I'm going to take cut-ups of that, brief snippets of it, and post that on social media so that it's you'll be able to watch a few short snippets that are meaningful, but not the full-blown discussion. So hopefully the longer form discussion doesn't bore you too much. But with that said, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the items that were discussed at the Texas Land Title Association meeting that I attended earlier this week in Frisco, Texas, and that's going to lead me into some more specific things we'll talk about in just a minute. But a big topic, as you might imagine, at that meeting was the discussion of AI, how artificial intelligence is used in the title industry, how it changes how we work, how it changes the efficiencies, how fast we do things, how much things cost. And of course, that was a big topic of discussion. Everybody there wanted to talk about how we do things better, faster, more efficient, save time, save money, so we can provide the same service, but just do it more efficiently. And that was certainly discussed, but the upshot of it was really that AI has helped, as it has every industry, it's helped us do things faster. It's helped make things more efficient, certain discrete tasks, but really the general service that we provide hasn't radically changed and won't radically change anytime soon. AI is going to be more of a slow burn in the title industry. We're going to take advantage of it as best we can, digitizing our abstract plant. We have software that helps us do closings and commitments quicker, integrate that process. So we've worked through that for a while, and we're going to continue to do that and take advantage of that technology as it comes available to help us provide a better service to you from the contract stage through the title commitment stage all the way through the closing. So we'll continue to do that. And that was discussed quite a bit at that conference. But really what was discussed more, or what was more meaningful to me, was the fact that artificial intelligence, AI, has given people more tools to commit fraud on the title industry and against property owners and borrowers. That's a big deal. It's been a big deal for years, but AI is just another tool that these guys have in their tool belt to try to commit fraud, to try to basically steal property or steal money that's not theirs. And so as a title insurance company, an agent, and an attorney, we've got to guard against that quite a bit. So what I wanted to talk to you this morning about was some of the ways that fraud typically happens in the title insurance industry, and then a couple of things that the Texas legislature has provided to us as tools to guard against it, so that if things do happen, people do take possession of property that doesn't belong to them, or actually claim to own property that doesn't belong to them, or even sell property that's not theirs, that there are ways to take care of that in the courts and even without going to court a little bit quicker. How does fraud typically happen in the title industry? The biggest way that people do that is email compromise, sending emails that look like they're from a real estate agent, that look like they're from a lender, that look like they're from a title professional, but they're not. There may be, my email is Allen@goodingtitle.com. They may misspell my name. They may spell it ALLEN at goodingtitle.com. That actually should go to my address anyway, but they may put one thing in the last part, Allen@gooding.title.com. Some small change so that email looks like it might go to me, but it's actually going to be diverted to a fraudster who's probably overseas and waiting to get information that he can use to basically steal money. That's a big deal. Seller impersonation is another big deal. Just simply somebody pretending to be an owner of a piece of property so that they can sell it, they can borrow against it, what have you. And that just means using just simply a fake ID. They'll actually create a fake ID, no different than people have done for years when you try to buy drinks when you're 18 instead of 21. But they'll actually create a fake Texas ID, try to pretend that they're the owner of the property. They'll engage a realtor. They'll actually try to get property listed and sold. And we have a lot of things that can guard against that in the process to verify that people are who they say they are. So there are ways that we can do that, but that's a big deal. Just simply somebody pretending to be somebody they're not to try to sell property or borrow against it. Title company spoofing is another big deal. Fraudsters will actually pretend to be a title company. They're gonna create a fake website. They're gonna create a fake name. They're gonna say, I'm a title agent working in Red River County or whatever county that they're in. That won't be as big of a deal in Red River County because there are only 2 title agencies in Red River County. Everybody knows who they are. So a strange title agent popping up will probably get a lot of people's attention, but there may be people in other parts of the state or other parts of the world that won't know that. So there are people actually pretending to be title companies, trying to get earnest money sent into them. And once you send them earnest money, wire it into their fake escrow account, that money's going to be gone and you're never going to get it back. Another way that people pretend is to pretend to be a mortgage company. They're going to pretend to be a mortgage company that holds a lien against a property, and they're going to actually get say that we hold a lien, and they're going to send you a fake mortgage payoff. They're going to provide their identification as a lender. They're going to give false, ID numbers and that sort of thing. They're going to provide false payoff information with hopes of getting money wired to them. That again, once you get money wired to them as a payoff of the loan, you're never going to see it again, and the loan is never going to get paid off because there isn't a loan; it's a fake loan. Another big deal is just diversion of closing proceeds. This is the biggest thing, really. Anytime in a transaction, this is a red flag for us in our industry, somebody sends an email that says, our wiring instructions have changed. So we're 2 days from closing and we get an email and it says that our wiring instructions have changed. You now need to wire money instead of to this real estate agent or this bank account for the owner. We've changed it and we want to send it here. That's a big red flag that probably somebody is pretending to be the owner and they're saying this is our new bank account, and so they want you to wire the money to that account instead of the true owner's account or real estate agent or lender, whoever it is. And if a title company does that, that money's going to be gone. That's the big upshot here is whenever you send money to the wrong place, it's very difficult to get it back. Some things can be done. You can contact the authorities, the FBI, and so forth, but typically that money is offshore and you will never see it again. So we want to stop that fraud before it actually happens. A big thing that I talked about AI being a tool that these fraudsters have, and it just gives them more abilities to do things. They can actually an AI can create a fake voice, so they can get on the phone with you and they can sound exactly like me, exactly like a real estate agent. If they got a sample of their voice, AI can actually create a fake voice and sound exactly like them. Deep fake videos, you've all seen that. That can be used too. They'll get on a video conference and they'll create a fake face and they'll actually look like the person trying to pretend that they're the realtor or they're the attorney or they're the owner even. That can be very effective and is a tool that they use. People will create false websites. There was a case recently where a title company, somebody pretended to be a title company. They actually created a fake title company page, directed people to that page. People looked at it, decided, hey, these guys are legit. They've got their own website, and they were actually convinced that this was a fake title company. Money went to them. The money was gone. That was a recent case that was actually talked about this week at the TLTA conference. And again, fake wire instructions. That's a big deal. So they can generate even fake court settings. People will say, we're going to have a hearing this morning regarding title to property. If you'll appear via video, we'll show you all about it. And they'll actually have a video where you can log into, and they'll have a judicial setting with a seal behind them, bailiff standing next to them, the whole deal. They set up a whole scenario to make it look like they're something that they're not. So again, fraud is a big deal. We've got to watch it. AI just makes it more convincing, more able for people to steal money that's not theirs. And we as a title industry and you as consumers need to be knowledgeable about it so we can guard against it. A couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about this morning are ways that the Texas legislature have given us as legal professionals to help owners combat against fraud. The first one is simply so this is assuming fraud has actually happened. And you go down to the courthouse and you look at the county clerk's website and you see that the property that you own has actually been sold. And there's a deed on file where you actually signed it as owner of the property and sold it to somebody else. And that deed was not you. It was signed by somebody that's not you. Somebody impersonated you, pretended to be the owner of the property, and either sold it or created a fake lien against it, granted a deed of trust against the property, giving some other fake person a lien against it by which they could try to get money later. That does happen. I have never seen it happen here locally, but it does happen. The legislature has given us a tool now to deal with that, and it's in 5.0206 of the Texas Property Code. And it's simply a summary procedure that you can use to remove a fraudulent deed. So if you find out that a deed has been filed that's not yours, in other words, somebody signed a deed pretending to be you, or granted a deed of trust against the property pretending to be you, granting that mortgage, you can actually file what's called an owner's affidavit. And that's just a recorded instrument saying that the deed or whatever instrument is at risk is fraudulent. It's fraudulent, it's not authorized. You want to file that affidavit in the real property records. The statute gives a form for the affidavit, so you want to stick close to that form when you do it. The second thing you want to do is to send an affidavit or a letter, or send a copy of the affidavit with a letter to the person who pretended to file it. Every deed is going to have an address in it. That's a statutory requirement that of the person who claimed to have the property. So whoever was the quote owner of the property who got the deed, you have to send a copy of that affidavit to them and tell them, hey, this is fake. I have filed this affidavit claiming that it's fake. You want to send that by certified mail, return receipt requested to the last known address in the deed. If you do that, the grantee, in other words, the person who claims to be the owner of the property, will then have an opportunity under the statute to respond. And they're going to have an opportunity to file what's called a controverting affidavit and say, everything you said in your affidavit is wrong, or some things in the affidavit is wrong, and I actually do own the property, and here's why. So they'll have an opportunity to file a controverting statement, a sworn statement, saying that they do actually own the property, and they're going to have the opportunity to do that, and claim that they actually do own it. If they don't do that within 120 days, if 120 days, which is basically 4 months, it sounds like a long time to me, but that's what the statute gives. If after 4 months that owner does not file that controverting affidavit, you as the true owner can go into the district court and file a lawsuit, and it's a summary proceeding. And what I mean by summary proceeding means if you file the lawsuit and a sworn petition, the lawsuit actually being a sworn petition, attaching all the documents, attaching your affidavit, attaching your certificate of mailing showing that you've mailed it to the person claiming to own the property, and that no response has been filed, a judge can actually review that and grant a summary order saying this deed is invalid, property is vested in the true owner, not the person claiming to have ownership through this fraudulent deed. They'll actually declare the deed to be fraudulent. You take that order signed by the court, you file it in the real property records, and your problem is solved. The good thing about that is it allows you to do that without having to serve anybody, without having to go through the full lawsuit process. You file the summary proceeding, you get it filed, you don't have to serve the other owner or the person claiming to be the owner. You can simply just file it, let the judge sign the order. You don't have to go through the full-blown litigation process. Now, the true owner can respond and say, and and say that they do own it. Again, if the controverting affidavit is filed, you're probably not going to be able to do that, because at that point it's going to be a dispute, and you're actually going to have to file a lawsuit, a trespass to tri-title lawsuit. That's just a lawsuit declaring or adjudicating who actually owns the property. So if there's a dispute, then that dispute can be litigated. But if there's no dispute, if the person doesn't respond, or if they don't respond adequately and the judge is not convinced that the deed was actually fraud, the judge will sign the order, the problem is solved. That's your first option that you have. A couple of tips regarding that. When you do file that affidavit claiming ownership, when you file the lawsuit, you want to be sure you're using a full-blown, accurate legal description. You can contact us or any title company that works in the county that's involved in. Make sure that legal description is accurate. Don't use the description off the tax records. That's not a valid legal description. Get the description on the deed that's actually the valid legal description and file that. That's going to be very important. The next thing to note is be sure to organize what you're presenting to the judge. The judge is going to look at this 5 minutes before the hearing. He's not going to know what happened. You want to be sure you organize the timeline and show him what happened, who did it, what documents were filed, what documents were not filed. Be sure and paint a clear picture for the judge so the judge can look at it, understand what he's looking at it, sign the order, and you'll be done. The third thing is always stick to the statutory forms. This particular statute has very clear forms on the, especially for the certificate of mailing, the owner's affidavit, and then the actual lawsuit that you're going to file. So be sure and stick to that form. Don't deviate from it. File those exactly as the statute allows, and you'll have a lot of success. That's a great statute. It allows you, again, 120 days. Seems like a long time to me, but that does allow you a fairly quick removal of a fraudulent deed if you have the misfortune of having that filed against you. The other thing that the court has given us is a way to deal with squatters. Squatters, as you know, that was a big deal during COVID. Squatters are just somebody who actually goes to a property. Maybe it's a property that's abandoned, a residential property that no one lives in at the time, and they just show up and say, hey, this is mine. I'm not gonna move because I'm a tenant. I have a right to be here. They'll dummy up a phony lease. If a policeman shows up to remove them, a sheriff or sheriff's deputy, they're gonna present that fake lease and they're gonna say, I have a right to be here. And most of the time, the authorities are gonna say, I'm not gonna get involved in that. That's a civil matter. The parties have to deal with that in court. Well, that's a squatter. That squatter had no right to be there. He just showed up and claimed possession of it. In that case in Texas now, and this law again was effective, both of these laws were effective September 1st of 2025. So they're coming up on a year on the books. So this has been in effect just a short amount of time. In this particular case, if you do have a squatter, you can actually file a complaint to the sheriff or the constable, pardon me, in the county where the property is located. That's a complaint to the sheriff. You don't have to file anything with the court. There's no court involvement here at all. You file that complaint to the sheriff. The sheriff is going to have the opportunity, and under the statute has the obligation to verify that the complaint is accurate. In other words, they're going to really just verify that you are who you say you are. You actually own the property. They're going to look at deed records and so forth. They're going to make sure that you have the authority to make this claim. And if they do, the statute says that sheriff, without delay, in other words, just a date, once they make that determination based on what's filed, that sheriff goes out and serves a notice to vacate and will actually remove those people from the premises. They're going to take that notice, they're going to serve it on them, they're going to physically remove them from the premises. Probably at that point as the owner, you're going to want to change the locks or make sure you take whatever steps you need to do to keep them out. You don't want them going back in. So they're going to remove the property, and you're going to have possession of the property back. This is in section 24B. This is a new section created in the Texas Property Code, 24B of the Property Code. 24B does give recourse to a person who's wrongfully removed. So the statute doesn't allow you to just remove anybody. In fact, very clearly, I'm just going to flip over to that statute and just read it. What it covers, what it says is that the property, number one, was not open to the public when the person entered the property. In other words, it's not a public place. It's not just open for anybody to come in and out. You need to secure the property. That's number one. Number two, the property is not the subject of any pending litigation between the owner and the person. If there is actually a dispute going on between two people as to who has possession or right to be in the property, the sheriff's not going to get involved in that. So there has to be no litigation going on. The owner and the owner's agent has to have directed the person to leave the property, and the person has not done so. The statute doesn't say that, but probably what you want to do is you want to go tell them to leave. You want to send them a notice via certified and regular mail, and you probably want to post that on the property, telling them that you don't have a right to be here. I need you to leave. And the last thing is that the person is not one of two people. They're not a current or former tenant of the owner under an oral or written lease. So in other words, the sheriff is not going to get involved in a holdover tenancy dispute. That's something you have to go into the eviction court and actually have them evicted with a court order. And the other thing is they're not an immediate family member of the owner. Sheriffs don't want to get involved in adjudicating whether the son has the right to be there, whether it's an heirship issue. One brother has a right to the property versus the other brother who inherited it from dad, something like that. Sheriff's not going to get involved in that stuff. So those are the things that you have to prove. And if those things don't happen, and if those things in that statute are covered, the sheriff will remove those people. And squatters, and that's been a big deal. It was kind of a thing that started in COVID, and people just started squatting on properties. Because what happened during COVID is nobody had eviction hearings. Eviction hearings didn't happen. So people were able to just show up and claim possession of property. And so this gives you another toolbox in the state of Texas to remove squatters. That's somebody claiming not ownership, but possession of property under no lawful claim. I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you kind of learn a couple of new things in the law. It helps you think about what fraud is out there in the real estate industry, and this just touches the very tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot of things going on in real estate that we all need to be vigilant about. If you have any questions about these statutes, about seller fraud or fraud in the title industry, give us a call at Gooding Title Company. You can find us at goodingtitle.com. You can call us at any time. We discuss these things, your transaction, potential transactions, or just general questions about the law. Again, we have a title company, we have a full-service law firm, Allen E. Gooding PLLC, and we can handle any of these matters for you. I hope this helped you. Hope it gave you a little bit more knowledge than you had before, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend. And I look forward to doing this again soon. Thank you.